want to get to the kind of the next thing of the course, and I'd like to use this as at least notes, maybe as the actual video for the next chapter. We've done the mindset, which is basically just be yourself. You know, you got to run the business the way you want to run the business. Chapter 2 is about building your team. You know, having a runner really important, and then having a handyman and a cleaner. I think those are the absolute essentials that you need to operate. And then chapter 3 is about some basic bookkeeping, which actually we are changing the way we're doing our bookkeeping in 2024. So there might be some updates to that, but I am too new to our changes to explain it. Basically, I can kind of show you. We're just going from the spreadsheets that we made, which have served us well and may ultimately be the right way to go, but we were just testing it against using QuickBooks and just seeing if maybe QuickBooks makes things a little bit easier or makes things a little bit more streamlined, and possibly hiring somebody. Right now it's going to be me and my wife doing it, but we're going to hire somebody to take over at some point, and that's kind of the goal, to have one less thing that we are doing ourselves. And that's the goal with everything, right, is to automate and scale up. But you got to go slowly, because our business is just starting to really turn a corner and make money. We started our first investments in 2019. It's 2024 now, so we're in this business 5 years. And I feel like last year into this year, like in the last 6 months, we've really hit something. And a lot of what we did, as those of you who follow me know, is we've controlled our expenses much, much better. We are spending almost half of what we spent last year in our month-to-month expenses, which allows us to go a little bit harder towards business and have more money to spend to make the business more automated and to build the business more. It was definitely a self-fulfilling prophecy. The less liabilities you have, the better. Definitely control your expenses, and if you need help doing that, just book a Calendly call with me, and I'll help you do that, or I'll point you towards some stuff. It's not difficult to do, you just have to commit to doing it. And sometimes it takes two people, because especially if you're married and have a family, like I really had to get my wife on board, and I think that's one of the things that changed so drastically this year. One of the things that changed so much is my wife really got on board. I think I created a monster. I think she's more on board with my ideas than I am at this point. She really wants to be careful spending money. I think she hates, now it's really funny, so like she remembers the me that would be like just so pissed off we spent a lot of money on something that wasn't that good. And she's turning into that, where she's just like, feels like it's such a fucking waste of money. It feels like some things are such frauds, and like we still love good restaurants. We like going to nice hotels and experiences. We just went to the Florida Keys, and it's really remarkable. I really think that should be on everybody's bucket list. But like one of the hotels we stayed at, we felt like we really got value, and one of the hotels we stayed at, we felt like it was, you're just paying for bullshit. It wasn't comfortable, and they were almost an obstacle to your enjoyment. It's really funny. They're charging an absolute premium for it, with a minimum number of nights. At a four-night minimum. We really didn't want to stay for 4 nights. I wanted to stay for 3 nights, but it is fuck it. Anyway, that's a different story. But just having your partner on board, if you have a partner, is really, really important. And I'll tell you, having a partner is helpful. Being able to divide chores, and like there's some things I just hate fucking doing. I hate being on the phone with touchtone. I don't have good hearing, which drives me fucking nuts. I always press the wrong button. I just, I got to outsource that. I either have to hire somebody to do it or just ask my wife to do it. Having a partner is definitely helpful. But now to the point, which is just how to find deals. So how do we find deals? We find deals any fucking way possible. Like that's the very basic. So on the MLS, on Zillow and Realtor.com and all those third-party sites. And then I'm a realtor myself, so anything that I have, I consider. And my main thing, or at least the thing that I can exhibit the most control and hustle over, is getting addresses for houses and calling them and just seeing if they want to sell, and seeing if they want to be represented by me as an agent, or if I can make a deal with them, go to the bank, turn it into a flip or into a buy and hold, or just whatever it could be, a wholesale, but just trying to make business out of it. So I think you really just have to talk to a lot of people, and if you're not willing to talk to people, which I'm definitely not, because I'm doing other things, and I also don't love being on the phone with people, especially when I'm just calling and dialing and nobody's picking up. Hire somebody to make the calls for you. You can do it with a VA, or you can do it with an established call center like REI Call Center. I've done both successfully. So far I've been more successful with the VA, but I do think REI Call Center is pretty solid. And then then this is the benefit of that, is that when you get on a call, somebody's already called and they're like, oh, I want to connect you with Ralph, he's going to call you in 5 minutes, or they just punch you in. The stage is set for you to close, which is amazing. Like, you're not making a cold call, you're making a warm call. Like, they're expecting you to be the decision maker, which really gives you some clout at being able to say, hey, this is what I want to do, this is what I can offer you. It makes the deals pretty smooth, so I really recommend that. But in general, whatever it is that you're using to find the deal, even if you're just driving for dollars and you see a house or you see a for sale sign, you see a for sale by owner and you call, no matter what, you've got to get the information. I use mostly PropStream, Property Shark, and AirDNA to get that information. What that lets me do is it lets me, and Rentometer also like that, or there's estimate for rental. What I like to do is get comps basically of what a property will perform like, whether it's as a short-term rental, long-term rental. If it's a multifamily over 4, so 5 or up, then I try to see what the value add would be. In other words, if I can increase the rents, what would be the new value of it? So anything I can do to build equity, to make money, to create cash flow, that's what I want to look up, and I'm putting it through 2 different calculators that I use. One is a long-term calculator for where I will be in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and one is day one, what is the cash flow? So those 2 calculators are absolutely essential for my business. I bought calculators from other people and have since basically tweaked them heavily to the point where they're my calculators, and they do certain things that I think is important. Like, one thing for the long-term calculator is, I think it's really important, if you're a renter currently, to know the difference of, if you continue to rent, where will you be in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, as opposed to if you start to house hack today. Because I think house hacking is such an essential way to make money. It doesn't have to be the traditional house hack. There are a lot of ways to house hack. You can commercially house hack too. So there's a few ways to do it, and all of that is part of the deal finding must. So once you find a property that's a potential, you now have to run it through, run your numbers super conservatively, because things do go wrong. You be 10% under what you think you're going to make, and then be 10% over what you think it's going to cost you to do so. That way you have 20% spread. And if you're wrong and you get that 20% in your pocket, good for you. But you do not want to be right and being super optimistic about your numbers, and then you end up not making any money, or having, you know, what Michael Zuber calls an alligator property, where you're putting money into it to keep it afloat. That is the last thing in the world you want to do. And if you have a partner, because I've been in that position, if you have a partner, your partner is not going to be happy with your money that should be going to buying groceries, going into, you know, fixing some jackass property that you didn't calculate correctly. One thing to preserve all of that and prevent all of that is to have a reserve fund. You must have a reserve fund. That's actually that should be another topic of this, or another chapter of this, is funds. Funding yourself. In other words, you should have a war chest, you should have a reserve fund, and then you should have a long-term profit fund. That is like an absolute must. A war chest you need, because that's going to fund your future deals. There's a few ways you can hold a war chest. You can hold cash in a bank account. You can hold cash in Bitcoin, but then you're going to have to sell it at some point. And the reasons for Bitcoin I'm not going to get into, but you know, just watch Michael Saylor or Robert Breedlove or whoever to figure out why Bitcoin makes sense. The third way, if I didn't already say this, is a whole life insurance cash flow account, where you can loan yourself money and pay yourself back with the interest that your account is making. That's the other way to do it. That takes a while to build, so if you're planning to do that, like, you can't do that now and use the money this year. You would have to do that now and use the money in 3 years or 4 years or 5 years or whatever it builds up. You can accelerate that, but that's basically the time frame. You don't want to get all that information from me. If you want me to connect you to somebody who is incredible at explaining it, he's a whole life insurance agent, and he himself is a real estate investor, which makes him the perfect match for, you know, guys like us. Guys, when I say guys, I mean girls as well. And another thing I want to tell you, language-wise, I like to say brotherly, for meaning like really helpful to humanity. I do not mean that in an exclusive way, like it's not sisterly as well. Like, my sister's a fucking killer real estate investor, so I mean, it's not sex-based at all. It's just to simplify the meaning, just brotherly in sense of like, I give a fuck about humanity. I use that word all the time, and I feel like sometimes people take it as if I'm being misogynistic, and I really don't think it's that way. It's just simplicity of fucking language. So I want to make that clear. I should also have like a glossary or a chapter about, word choice, because I think one thing I love about real estate investors is most real estate investors talk super fucking directly. I absolutely love that about it. Like my sister is that way. She doesn't fucking sugarcoat a thing. She's just gung 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 all the time. You know what she's thinking, which is awesome. And she's done really well, and she's done well. She's older than me, and she's done well when this was very much a male dominated world. So. And one other thing I absolutely love about this business, and one thing that I think my wife has really taken to, is that there is absolutely no fucking glass ceiling in this business. It doesn't make a fucking difference what your race is. If you're young, old, man, woman, trans, nobody gives a fuck at all. This is just, can you run your numbers properly? Can you take risks? Can you articulate your ideas? Can you make deals? If you can do those things, you're good to go. So deal finding is really by hook or by crook. I also suggest that you network, in other words, get a couple realtors who are investor friendly. If you're in New York or New Jersey or Florida, I can be your contact, but I also know a lot of people in different states. I mean, some realtors who I consider teammates who I fucking love. One that I was talking to earlier today, she's helping me sell one of my properties. She does Pennsylvania, New Jersey, a little bit of New York, but upstate New York, Maryland. She does that whole northeast area, and she's fucking amazing. And anyway, I got people up and down the coast in Myrtle Beach, just you name the place, wherever. I'm not going to go through a list. All of Florida, obviously. Let me know. I can definitely be a connector at the very least. And it's in my interest because I'm trying to build my network. So to give somebody business, that's good karma for me coming back. So I'm absolutely happy to do it. I'm happy to cheerlead. Stay involved in the deal just to kind of problem solve or something. And like I said, that's it. So make your team of people to help you find deals. So I would get a wholesaler or two, a realtor or two. Make sure they're investor friendly, and if you're doing short-term rentals, make sure they understand short-term rentals. Otherwise, your numbers, two things: make sure they understand it, and also make sure you understand it. Do not, like I said before, do not be overly optimistic, because this 2023 was a good example. Things were kind of down, we did really well with our Airbnbs, and I don't know, is it because we ran our numbers more carefully, or is it because we're better operators, or is it some combination of the two? One thing I definitely think is true is that I said it earlier in this video, when you run your numbers well, it is easier to be better operators because you don't have, the pressure of, oh my God, I'm out of fucking money to make you make dumb decisions. That freedom of a little reserve fund allows you to make the correct decision for your business long term, for your business today, for your business in general. So, it's really a must to run your numbers carefully. That way you have the freedom to operate properly. That's kind of a good thing, and a reason why you have to run your numbers carefully. You just have to be in a position for success. You have to be. That's how we find our deals. It's definitely not, it's not magic, it's not rocket science, it's a lot of hard work. And I analyze deals as much as possible, and also I have it that my mortgage broker knows how to run deals the way I like, my favorite mortgage broker, but all of them do. And then I have on my team, everybody under me knows how to run deals the way I like, so that's 5 people. My wife, my son can do it. My son's only 12, he knows how to do it. I taught him how to do it. None of this is hard to do. My son's been doing it for about a year now, so in other words, it doesn't take exceptional math skills, although it turns out he is good at math, but he definitely wasn't good at math when he started. So being good at math is not a requirement. Actually, learning to do this may have made him better in math in school, because I think it gave him a little bit of math is not useless. You know what I mean? It gave him a little real world proof that we actually do use this stuff. And I think maybe he's listening. I think he also has a great teacher this year who makes it pretty fun. But anyway, if you're a parent, show your kids. Why not? It's a really good skill set to have. That's about it, Just make sure everybody is doing it. As many hands on deck as possible. The reason I'm saying that is because you want to be analyzing deals constantly so that you just immediately know. And then you also have some rules of thumb. For example, I can just estimate expenses now, at, basically 50% of whatever your projected cash flow is going to be. That's going to be your expenses. It's really easy to kind of guesstimate some of this stuff. So the more deals you analyze, the more that becomes second nature. The back of the napkin math is kind of running through your head. So you can just look at something and go, I think this might be a good deal, or just look at something and go, this is absolutely not, which is really helpful. That way you can process as many deals as possible and then find the best deal for you. So that's pretty much it for finding deals. Just put all that together. And then one last thing to note about this is that you may be good at one thing, I may be good at something else. Whatever it is that you're really good at, try to stick to it so that you can become better and better at it, and you can maximize your efforts. So, find out what you're good at, and also what you like doing. What you're good at probably is what you like doing, but double check that. Definitely. That's about it. If you have any questions, of course, just reach out, put comments below, and I'll be happy to answer. Thanks.